the mental health update, because we just did a video on this, I want to say 2 weeks ago, about how the changes are favorable. And I wanted to just get everyone up to speed from my perspective. We did that video. Jason has a ton more. I have a ton more on mental health. Mental health was favorable. I ended up having a discussion with Dr. Sharma, who's a board certified psychiatrist who teaches psychiatry out of Johns Hopkins. I spoke with him, and he didn't give his opinion on whether these changes are favorable or not, but the way he described what mild, severe actually looked like, to me, it seemed like we were going to have a lot of 10, 30, 50% versus 50, 70, and 100. That's what it seems like. Now, food for thought, I'm some guy in a hotel room right now making videos. Do Jason and I, do we have the final answer on these proposed changes? The answer is no. No, we do not. We read VA news just like everyone else. But that's why I want to reconvene on this mental health update, is because my mind has changed, and I'm going to give you some more information on why I changed my mind. But before I do that, I want to hear your, why are the mental health changes favorable? And then I'm going to try and just insert a few things here and there and start that discussion on, okay, is it really favorable, or what does that look like?
Right. So I'm going to preface it with the one favorable thing out the gate is that the VA removed the need to have a severe economic and social adaptability. Mm-hmm. That language is gone. Okay. Now, granted, to Clay's point here, well, the severity aspect is going to be the new caveat for that. But here's my argument. Now you have 5 buckets to work within instead of one big one with all kinds of garbage in it that you're trying to navigate. So how do you eat an elephant, Clay? One bite at a time. So now the VA has given us the opportunity to eat this elephant. We now have 5 opportunities to take a bite. And you know as well as I do, Clay, that it doesn't take having maximum, issues in every single one of these things. It only takes 1 or 2 to have a more severe situation. So when you can hyper focus in that one element, you really need to be clear in those conversations. But I think that the elimination of the economic and social inadaptability is key. I think that being able to hone in on specific, forgot what they called it, but the buckets, right, are 5 domains, the 5 domains. So the 5 domains, to be able to hone in on each one specifically, I think is important. I still believe that overall it is going to be better for veterans than the current way, again, because now we're able to break it into sections, and you can have, I'm totally fine. I have 0 issues in 3. It's probably unlikely, but you could have 0 because usually there's bleed over, right? Mm-hmm. This thing is dominoes. So not real dominoes, the stack up and you drop them dominoes, that kind. So I think, and then I'm going to kick it over to you because I want to hear your thoughts on this and part of your discussion. But I think that the intent, and I get it, you trust as far as you can throw. I get it. But I do believe that at least the expressed intent was to make it a little more, I guess, equitable for folks with mental health conditions, because just because you're working doesn't mean that you're okay as far as that piece is concerned. So I think that they are absolutely focused on being able to hit a higher threshold. I think we're going to see more at 100% than we have before because of the removal of that need to have social inadaptability and economic inadaptability. So removing that alone is going to push people up. It shouldn't push them down. And the elimination of the 0 now having a 10. So in a way, you're going to be able to say probably two things are going to happen. One, you're going to have a compensable rating spike for mental health.
Yeah.
More people than ever before will be rated compensable for mental health. Undisputed, guaranteed. The other is you're going to have more people at 100% than ever before. And I would love to hear the argument that either one of those things are not true.
Yeah, so the 0%, the 0% is 100% true. I think the 100%, I wouldn't say we would see more, and obviously I'm just talking out of my fourth point of contact right now, but I would argue that the new proposed criteria is more objective in the way that it's outlined with 5 domains. There's 4 levels of impairment per domain, and each level corresponds with your 100, 70, 50, 30, 10. That is objective. Everyone can see that. It's black and white. The issue is, and it's 2, and they're definitely correlated, is when it comes to levels of impairment, that is super subjective. Super subjective. And so now you have to rely on the examiner to not just, so right now the current DBQ, section 3 or section 4, there's just this huge list of symptoms, and it's kind of check. Nope, ain't got that. You don't have that. You don't have that. And then boom, they, check the corresponding box of social and occupational impairment in the box above. And that's what gives you the 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, or 100. That is not, you would say that's not thorough. It's just kind of a check in the box. This new proposal is extremely thorough. It is a lifestyle. It's not just, oh, you got that, boom, checkbox. You have that, boom, checkbox. It is looking at your cognition domain, looking at the levels of impairment from your memory loss. What kind of level of impairment does your memory loss give? Is it mild? Is it severe? Is it total? Okay, so although the outline is more objective, there's definitely subjectivity into each domain on what that looks like. That's not really a huge issue. The reason I don't think, there's one reason I don't think the changes are going to be favorable is because now, all right, if you have a psychiatrist, meaning they went to med school, they understand psychiatry, I think that's going to be a favorable CMP exam. How many CMP examiners are psychiatrists? It's not many. That's the answer, right? And so now the variable of all VA disability claims has always been the CMP examiners. CMP examiners suck. We've talked about that 1,000 times, and I will die on that hill. But now you have this extremely thorough lifestyle proposal on how mental health is going to be evaluated, and that variable is the CMP examiner who cannot check the box. And if they check the box, you're going to see 10, 30, 50% at the highest. Now, obviously, if you have that thorough exam and you have that hour, hour and a half, 2-hour mental health CMP exam, I think, generally speaking, the proposed changes to mental health are going to be absolutely favorable. For those exams for mental health that are 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, not possible. One of Dr. Sharma's main concerns, his main concern after we had a whole hour conversation on what mental health looks like, and the one thing he said that he really, really, really stressed is he was like, hey, I'm worried that CMP examiners are not going to take the time to thoroughly understand the veteran situation, because it's no longer a check in the box. Look at the DBQ yourself. It's very easy to read. This new proposal is on steroids, right? It's like mental health on steroids. And it is a true reflection of what mental health, it's more objective. It's more objective of what mental health looks like in our life. And I think the CMP examiner aspect and that slight subjectivity of mild, severe, and total, I think those two things coupled together are going to not be good at all. That's my opinion on it. Yeah. It just depends.
And so here's my thought on that, Clay. It's no different than any other claim now. It's exactly the same. The C&P examiner sucks. Do your homework up front. Make sure you document everything. Have conversations with your psychologist, who's a medical professional. Make sure you understand the rating schedules, the 5 domains, the severity of each. Look, if you don't shower but once a month and your spouse has to make you do it, make sure you talk about that, right? So these are the tools that we have in order to get us to where we need to go. Sure, you can't control who the C&P examiner is. You never have been. You haven't been able to control it with your back when they push on your back. You haven't been able to. So what can you do? You can fight it with evidence prior to even getting to that. So you're going to have all of this evidence that says I'm effed up in this one and this one. I'm okay-ish in this one and this one, and this one doesn't really bother me that much, right? I have that documented, submitted to the VA with my claim. Now I go to a C&P exam. Ideally, the VA sent that information to them, but if they gave you a portal to submit it to, you submit that too. And in fact, work with your psychologist to write a letter, kind of like a nexus letter. Write me a little one-pager that talks about these 5 domains, and then I'm effed up in this one, and I'm okay-ish in this one, and okay-ish in this one. Use the language the VA wants to see and upload that. Make sure that gets there. If that doesn't go to the C&P examiner, there might be a way to submit it to the C&P examiner just as an extra precaution. Do that. Read everything that you get. Go to your C&P exam. If they suck and it's 5 minutes and you get a lower rating, guess what you do? You do a higher level review and you point that damn shit out. And if that doesn't work, you kick it to the board and then you're 100% and you can tell everybody to screw off and then poke the bear some more. I'm irritated now.
Yeah.
Back to you,
Sorry.
Clay. Tell me what you think.
So the main thing, I'm so glad you said that, because that's what I was going to say. I think overall, objectively, we could both agree, whether favorable or not favorable, what's most important is veterans are really going to have to seriously take the time of the intent to file. You have a year before you submit that claim with your personal statement and all your other self-reports. Before you do that, okay, just do the intent to file, breathe a little bit, relax, go see your healthcare provider, whether that's private, through the VA, whoever, get the evidence specifically for mental health. Because if I was to put a out of 10, I would say 8 out of 10 times, you're going to get a crappy C&P examiner, right? And that's
prepare for that.
That sucks. And that's wrong. That's not right at all. That's the VA's downfall, in my opinion. That's another story. But I think medical evidence is going to be absolutely critical to be properly rated for mental health, no matter what. Because I am not a fan of C&P examiners at all. That needs to be reformed, and total reform in C&P exams, period. But that's really my final thoughts on mental health. Jason, I didn't mean to rile you up, but I
love it.
And I know someone's going to say that we don't know what we're talking about, and you're right, because these are proposed. We're just giving you our opinion as we're reading the proposal. Right. There's objective that is favorable, like the 100% criteria for not working, I think is absolutely solid. The 10% being gone, I think is solid.
0%. 0%.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The 0% being gone. And then the unfavorable aspect is that subjectivity. Okay, what is 25% of the time? What does that mean?
Right.
Is it 1 out of 4 times I drink my drink, something happens? Is it a quarter of the week, a quarter of the month, a quarter of the year? I mean, what is 25% of the time? And that's when it gets to that subjectivity of the C&P examiner. And medical evidence is going to be your only saving grace for that. Jason, that's all I have for today's episode. If you want to give your final thoughts on just mental health in general, sure. And then that's about it.
Yep. So I'm staying with, I think that the change is positive. I think that it allows the ability to get to 100% easier because of that elimination. I love the fact that it's 5 domains. Yeah, sure. You gotta work a little more and be a little more segmented, but it's an easier way to look at mental health instead of just one big blob of 1,000 different things. You can go, okay, let me segment this out, and how affected am I in each different domains. But again, it's your claim's as strong as your evidence, and that never changes. So don't ever think that something's just going to be easier just because it's easier. It's only easier if you have the documentation to push forward. The C&P examiners, I could give a shit. Look, they are what they are, right? That's why they can be subjective. That's why there's an appeal process. That's why there's HLR. That's why there's a supplemental claim. That's why there's the board. Utilize those. That's why they're there, because they understand that it's not perfect, that you're seeing a person for a small segment. Your personal provider probably should carry more weight than somebody you saw for 10 minutes. But they only carry more weight if you're using the words and the criteria and the information that the VA is looking for, right? The VA is looking for very specific stuff. So once this rule change comes into effect, right, we're going to get the actual rubber meets the road information, because right now it's still subject to change. Yeah. And they take comments in, they absorb all that, all the lobbying, all the service organizations out there about all of this, and then they're going to form their final version and then push that out. Once that happens, we'll have something to work with. Then once we start to see claims go through and how that process looks like and feels like, and we're able to actually look at a DBQ, that type of stuff, we can formulate even more methods of attack, we'll say. And then after that, we'll actually have these claims go through from people who watch, who could then share with us, or we'll talk with somebody who works for the VA and they'll say, this is how we do X. And that's when we'll really be able to figure it out. But again, look, for me to say that it's going to be harder because C&P examiners suck is like, well, that's every single claim. So no, that's not true. It's not going to be more difficult than any other claim, right? So you could say that about the current rating criteria. It sucks because the VA, they're going to decide. They're going to be subjective on how much that stuff influences your life. And, are your fingernails dirty today? No, they're not, right? So make sure you get some mud under them before you go into your appointment and sit your hands right in front of them. So it's just, for me, I think that the paper, reading the paper, understanding what they're looking for, lowers the threshold. Again, you're going to see, and I guarantee, obviously, right, the number, you love numbers, there's going to be way more compensated mental health veterans than ever before, because there's no zero, right? So now 10%. And I believe that people that are at 70, because the only reason they're not at 100 today is because they have a job, right? Some people got shafted, right? Some people got away with it. They had a job and they still got 100%, right? Because they were able to articulate that, look, I've had 15 jobs in the last 10 years because I can't hold them. I'm very unstable with my jobs. I get fired all the time, or whatever it is. So some people got that. Other people had a hard time. No, I've always had work. I've never had an issue having to work. Because they're a little bit prideful in sharing, right? That I've been fired 15 times, but I got a job right afterwards because at least I'm kind of charismatic, right? So I got fired. I'm not talking about me. But people do that, right? They don't give the full story. They give partial truth. Yeah, I've never had a problem earning money. I've been okay there. Well, you've had 15 jobs in the last 10 years. There's some sort of an issue. I'm just saying, right? That's a lot of jobs. So for people who got rated lower because they have a job or been able to support themselves are now going to have a window in, I believe, because I think that somebody that is 70% today, I think that they're going to be able to get rated high enough in a couple domains to be able to warrant 100. And if they have a crappy C&P examiner, then they better have the document needed, right? The documentation along the way, using the VA's words, using the criteria, using the 5 domains, having their provider domain, this domain, they're considered severe because of this, right? With just little blurbs, just a couple little sentences. I mean, my God, they've seen you for the last, I've seen patient veteran X for the last 15 years or whatever. This domain with 2 sentences on Y, the fact you've seen him for 15 years compensates for the short meaning Y, right? The VA just wants to see how bad you are. Give them what they're looking for. Bad C&P examiner, higher level review. That doesn't work. Maybe supplemental, push it to the board. With that,